Just heard from the former Australian Prime Minister Tony Abbott. He's of the belief that Australia should be sending Australian peacekeepers to Ukraine to ensure a lasting peace. That's if a ceasefire is signed upon, which they are working towards now, first of all in Saudi Arabia, but also breakaway meetings in Europe. Joining us live now out of Canberra is the ambassador to Ukraine, Ukraine's ambassador to Australia, I should say, Vasyl Myroshnychenko. Vasyl, good to see you. Thanks for your time this morning. I don't know if you've caught Tony Abbott's comments yet, but he suggested, and it's the strongest claim yet, that Australia should send peacekeepers of our own. This is after Britain decided that it should as well, even though the Americans don't want to and the Russians don't want to. How would you feel about Australian peacekeepers on the ground in Ukraine?
As you know, Australian Defence Forces are already providing training to the Ukrainian recruits in the UK, which is part of the CODU program, and it is a very meaningful contribution to Ukraine's defence capabilities. Certainly, we are following the discussions, and from that Paris forum, there will be another one today in Europe, in Paris again, discussing how to deal with Russia, how to help Ukraine. And certainly, I mean, we would welcome international peacekeeping troops eventually. We haven't yet made a request to the Australian government about this specifically. As you know, this is what is now being in discussion. We have had a similar question posed to New Zealand Prime Minister as well. He doesn't rule it out. He made a statement yesterday in his comments to media. So it's all part of the discussions. But what is important is how we can make sure that we have the free world standing strong with sovereignty, democracy, and human rights, with those values which have been brutally violated.
As you mentioned there about training, that is true, that's happening, but there is, as everyone knows, a difference between training outside the country and actually having boots on the ground. Do you think, or are you inclined to eventually make a submission to the Australian government about our soldiers being on the ground?
Well, it will be a call for my political leadership to make. It's not a call for me to make, of course. What we are making sure that Ukraine, because look, we need security guarantees, we need a fair peace, we need a durable peace, and we have to make sure we can achieve it. And the only way to achieve it is actually when we have a serious deterrent against any Russian aggression in the future. And serious deterrent, if we cannot become member of NATO, though I have to tell you it's enshrined in Ukraine's constitution, this is supported by the majority of the people, and that's been part of a decision made at the last Washington NATO summit that inevitably Ukraine will become a NATO member state. Maybe not now, but later. But if we cannot get into NATO as a security guarantee, we must build NATO within Ukraine, and that requires strong military, well-equipped, and ready to fight, and that's what we have it now as a result of the Russian aggression.
How do you think you would stop Russia from attacking again? Let's play the long game here, and I know this is a concern, having spoken to some of your colleagues in Ukraine in recent days and weeks. There is a concern that Putin outlasts all of the current leaders. He'll still be around after Trump steps down. So how do you, at the end of his 4-year term, how do you work against an idea that Putin will just buy his time or bide his time and then perhaps attack again in 5-6 years down the track?
Russia is an aggressor. Putin is a dictator. He's run the country for 25 years, right? A reset of relations with Russia in 2009, which was done by Obama administration, did not work. It failed. This reset, we'll see how it goes. But any student of Russia will tell you that a peace in Russia is not helping. Russia invaded Ukraine in 2014 when Ukraine was a neutral country. So the reason they invaded Ukraine, because they want to destroy Ukraine's sovereignty. They're on a mission to destroy a nation. It has nothing to do with their security concerns. They are trying to convince everybody of. Both Finland and Sweden joined NATO because they've seen what Russia has done to Ukraine. And this is what they are doing. And of course, we cannot, I mean, the only security guarantee that we could get is actually if we are part of NATO. Because at the end of the day, we gave up our nuclear weapons. We had Russia, we had America, we had Britain, we had France, who put their signatures on that document in 1994, which actually guaranteed us that security and that inviolability of our borders.
All right, Vasyl, we're out of time, but as always, good to talk to you. Thanks again. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for having me.